Hey there, I'm Scarlett, and I need to share something that completely changed the way I see my family. You won't believe what happened. My sister sabotaged our family trip and tried to take all the credit for it. But that's just the beginning. The real twist? The lies, manipulation, and secrets that were hidden for years, all at my expense. Have you ever had someone in your family betray you in the worst way possible? Drop a comment below and let me know. Where are you listening from? And can you relate to this story? I never thought it would come to this. Family had always been my anchor. But somehow, here we are, on the brink of the greatest betrayal I'd ever face. I had worked so hard for years, pulling strings in the shadows to keep us together, to make sure our parents' anniversary would be celebrated in a way they deserved. It wasn't just a vacation. It was a symbol of family unity, a piece of something bigger than just us. But Victoria didn't see it that way. It was as if she had her own agenda. From the moment I told her about the trip, I could sense the tension between us, the passive-aggressive comments she made when I told her I'd booked everything. I didn't need her approval, but I could never have imagined the depths she would sink to. I had already invested too much to back out. I told myself that maybe she was just upset about other things, work, her life in general. But as I saw her posts on social media, the irritation in her eyes when we talked about the trip, I couldn't ignore it anymore. My own sister, pretending she was the one who put everything together. It was a punch in the gut. When she started cropping me out of family pictures and subtly implying that she was the one footing the bill, that was when the reality of it all hit me. I couldn't believe it. Was she really trying to steal credit for something I had planned down to the last detail? My anger simmered, but I held it in. I didn't want to make a scene, especially with our parents around. But the truth was, I couldn't let it go. There was only so much I could swallow before I had to confront her. I decided to confront her face to face. We were alone, and I could feel the heat rising in me as I said, "Victoria, stop. You've been taking credit for this trip, and I'm done pretending it's okay." Her reaction was not what I expected. She laughed. "What are you talking about? You're overreacting. I didn't do anything." "Don't lie to me. I've seen your posts," I said, my voice shaking. "You've been cropping me out of pictures, telling everyone you planned everything. This is not just about the trip, it's about respect." She shrugged. "It's not a big deal, Scarlett. Get over it. Besides, you can't even take a compliment. I thought it'd be nice to say I helped." Nice. It wasn't nice. It was manipulative. And in that moment, I realized just how far my sister had gone to control the narrative. This wasn't a simple misunderstanding. It was a calculated attempt to undermine everything I'd worked for. I could feel my chest tighten, the frustration building. She wasn't going to take this from me. "You can't just take credit for what I've done, Victoria," I said through gritted teeth. "You've been taking everything from me for years, and I'm done letting you." But then she did something I wasn't ready for. She made it seem like I was the one at fault. "You're making a big deal out of nothing, Scarlett. Maybe you're just jealous. Who else would have put this whole thing together if it weren't for me?" Her tone was as sharp as a knife. I stood there, frozen. I didn't know what to say. The words I wanted to say were stuck in my throat. I could feel the tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall, not in front of her. And then I overheard something that shattered everything. Late that night, I was passing by the living room, and I heard my parents talking to her. "She's the one who paid for it all, right?" My mother's voice was softer than usual. Victoria's response was sharp, almost too eager. "Yes, of course. I handled everything. I wanted to give you all the best trip." I felt my heart drop. The fury, the heartbreak, everything collided in that moment. I was the one who had paid for everything. The flights, the hotel, the expensive dinners. I had done it all. And now my own sister was pretending like it was her idea, her money, her trip. It was more than I could bear. The next morning, I couldn't stay quiet any longer. As soon as we were alone again, I confronted her. "Victoria," I began, my voice trembling but firm, "I overheard you last night. You're not just taking credit for this trip. You're lying to Mom and Dad. You didn't pay for any of it." She crossed her arms and stared at me, unflinching. "You're making a mountain out of a molehill. If you're so mad, maybe you should just leave." I wanted to slap her. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Instead, I took a deep breath, the reality of what was happening sinking in. "I'm done with this," I said. "You've taken everything from me, respect, trust, even my own family. I'm not going to let you do this anymore." But she wasn't done. No, not by a long shot. She wasn't just going to let this go, and neither was I. Link to next chapter. It was the final straw, but I couldn't have imagined the chaos it would spark. I sat at a small cafe in the heart of New York, the city bustling around me, yet I felt completely alone. The hot coffee in my hands was no match for the storm brewing inside me. Every day, I tried to move past the anger, the hurt, the sting of betrayal. But today, as the afternoon sun filtered through the windows, I couldn't avoid it anymore. Victoria had crossed a line. My sister, my own flesh and blood, had taken something so pure, so important, and turned it into her own self-serving narrative. I took another sip of my coffee, trying to steady my racing thoughts. The vacation, no, the trip that I had planned so carefully for our family, had turned into something unrecognizable. I had done everything: booked the flights, arranged the accommodations, crafted an itinerary that I thought would create lasting memories. I had done it all, not for praise, but because I wanted to give my parents a celebration they truly deserved. Yet, all the while, Victoria was lurking in the background, subtly undermining me at every turn. 16 years ago, we were inseparable. I remember the days when we would laugh and dream together, side by side, but over the years, something had shifted. My career had taken off. I had achieved everything I'd worked for, but Victoria, she had struggled. Her life hadn't unfolded as she had hoped, and I had seen her grow resentful, bitter. In the quiet moments, I had noticed the jealousy in her eyes, but I never expected it to lead to this. I wasn't sure when exactly things had changed, but I knew one thing for sure: Victoria was making this trip all about her. The social media posts, the carefully staged photos with our parents, the constant insinuations that she was the one who had put everything together. It sickened me. She'd even cropped me out of family pictures. It was like she was trying to erase me from the story entirely. Her resentment was no longer something I could ignore. Each post, each remark, each sly comment felt like a slap to my face. And the worst part? She had the nerve to act like I was the one being unreasonable. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. She wanted the credit. She wanted the attention. I thought about confronting her. I really did. But every time I tried, the words got caught in my throat. I didn't want to tear our family apart, but how much longer could I keep pretending everything was fine when it was anything but? Then, the night I overheard her conversation with Mom and Dad, everything changed. I had been walking past the living room when I heard her voice, dripping with false sweetness. "Of course I paid for the trip," she said, her tone smooth, calculated. "I wanted to give you all a wonderful time." I froze. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, my stomach turning. She was lying. She had no idea how much money I had put into this trip. But here she was, spinning her web of lies. And what hurt the most? Mom and Dad didn't seem to question it. They just nodded along, accepting her version of the story. I couldn't let it slide any longer. I had to confront her. The next morning, I found myself standing in front of her, my fists clenched at my sides, the weight of everything pressing down on me. "Victoria," I said, my voice steady but cold, "I heard what you said last night. You're not fooling anyone. I paid for everything, the flights, the hotel, the meals, and now you're acting like you did all of it?" She looked at me, her face unreadable. "What's your problem, Scarlett? It's just a trip. It's not that big of a deal." "It's not just a trip, and you know it," I shot back, my voice rising despite myself. "This was supposed to be a gift to Mom and Dad, and you've been trying to steal the credit from me." "I'm not stealing anything," she said with a shrug, her smirk barely visible. "You're overreacting. What's the big deal?" The words hit me like a slap. How could she be so dismissive, so callous? Every part of me wanted to lash out, but I took a deep breath. "You've been undermining me for weeks, Victoria, and I'm done." She laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "You're too sensitive, Scarlett. It's embarrassing." My hands trembled with anger, but I held it in. I knew I couldn't let her have the final word. I couldn't walk away this time. But the words I wanted to say, those would come later. For now, I needed to decide what I would do next. Would I confront her publicly, or would I let her get away with this? The weight of the decision pressed heavily on my chest, but I couldn't let it go any longer. Something had to change, and I was the one who had to make it happen. Link to next chapter. As the days passed, the tension between us only grew. The final straw was coming, and when it snapped, nothing would ever be the same. It was late, far past midnight, and the only sound in my apartment was the hum of the city that never truly slept. I stood by the window, watching the flickering lights below, feeling disconnected from everything. The city seemed so alive, but here I was, alone with my thoughts, trapped in a storm of my own making. I was no stranger to stress, but this was different. This was personal. Victoria had pushed me to my limits. I thought I had everything under control, that I could simply put her actions behind me. But now, I was standing at a precipice, teetering between silence and the need to speak the truth. For months, I had swallowed my frustration, but I couldn't do it anymore. I had put everything into this trip for our parents, and what did I get in return? Betrayal, manipulation. A sister who not only wanted to take credit for my work, but was erasing my presence from everything that had mattered. I clenched my fists, the tension in my body so thick I thought I might snap in two. There was a gnawing rage deep within me that I could no longer ignore. I had been patient for too long, kept my head down, let her walk all over me, but no more. I needed to confront her, and I needed to do it now. The moment I had been dreading for so long had finally arrived. I couldn't hide from it anymore. I grabbed my coat and headed out the door, the cold air outside doing little to cool the fire burning inside me. Victoria's apartment wasn't far. My heart pounded as I approached the door, every step echoing in my mind. I thought back to all the moments she had undermined me, all the little things that I had ignored for so long, her sarcastic remarks, the way she belittled me in front of our parents. It all added up, and now it was time to say something. When I walked into her apartment, she didn't seem surprised. She never did. She always acted like she knew exactly what was coming. "Scarlett," she said, her voice smooth, almost too calm. "What's the problem?" I didn't waste time. "You know exactly what the problem is," I said, my voice sharp. "You've been taking credit for everything, for the trip, for the effort, for the attention, and now you're erasing me from it all. You've made me look like I'm some outsider in my own family." Victoria's eyes narrowed, and for a moment I saw the mask slip. "Oh, please," she scoffed. "You're being dramatic. It's just a trip. Who cares?" "No," I snapped, taking a step closer. "It's not just a trip. It's the one thing I've worked for, the one thing I've put my heart into. And now you're trying to steal it all from me. You can't just pretend like you did it all. You didn't." Her face tightened, and she crossed her arms. "You're so selfish, Scarlett. It's always about you, isn't it? You can't just be happy for the family. You can't just let me enjoy this moment without making it about you." I felt my blood boil. "It's not about me," I said through gritted teeth. "It's about you pretending to be something you're not. You're acting like you're the one who did it all. You're lying to everyone, and you're making me out to be the villain in my own life." Victoria took a step back, her gaze shifting, and for a brief moment, I saw her mask falter. But it was only for a second. "You're overreacting," she said with a forced chuckle. "I don't know what your problem is. It's not that deep." "It's deeper than you think," I shot back, my voice trembling with emotion. "This is about more than just a trip, Victoria. This is about the way you've treated me for years, the way you've used our family, used me, and made me feel like I'm nothing." Victoria smirked, but there was something off about it. "Oh, please. You think you're the only one who's had a hard time? You think you're the only one who has struggles? You don't know what it's like to fight for every little thing while you sit up on your high horse, acting like you're better than everyone else." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I've never said I was better than you, Victoria, but I have always tried to do the right thing. And for once, I need you to do the same. Admit what you've done. Admit that you've been lying." She stared at me for a moment, her lips curled into a smile that only deepened my anger. "You're pathetic," she said. "You think this is about truth? You think this is about being fair? This is about control, and you're not going to have it. Not this time." I felt my body go cold, every ounce of hope draining from me. "You're wrong," I said quietly. "I'm done." And with that, she walked away, leaving me standing there, shaking with a mixture of anger and helplessness. The door slammed behind her, and I was left alone with the aftermath of what had just happened. Something inside of me snapped. I knew things could never go back to the way they were. I had tried to make things work, but this was it, the breaking point. Linked to next chapter. The fallout from the confrontation is far from over. Scarlett knows that the fight for her own truth is only beginning. The air in the room felt suffocating, thick with unspoken words and heavy with unresolved emotions. The dinner table was set, but instead of the warmth that usually filled our family gatherings, there was an uncomfortable silence hanging over everything. I sat at the table, my hands gripping the edge of my plate a little too tightly. Across from me, Victoria looked completely at ease, a smile plastered on her face as if everything were fine, but it wasn't. I could feel the tension pulsing between us, thick and undeniable. I could hear my parents chatting quietly about the weather and their latest book club selections, but their words felt like a distant hum. All I could focus on was the tight knot in my stomach, the growing rage that threatened to break free. Victoria kept glancing at me, her gaze smug and full of the self-assurance that only someone who thinks they've already won can have. I hated it. I wanted to speak, to break the silence, but what could I say? It wasn't just about the trip anymore. It wasn't even about her stealing credit for everything. It was everything she had done, all the years of undermining me, making me feel invisible, like I was never enough. The urge to explode was overwhelming, but I clenched my jaw and swallowed it down. I was determined to keep my composure. This was a family dinner, after all. The last thing I needed was to make things worse, especially with my parents sitting right there. But every time I looked at Victoria, it felt like a red-hot poker being pressed against my chest. The anger was bubbling up, and I could feel the pressure building inside of me. I could tell she was doing it on purpose. Her small, pointed remarks, the way she'd talk over me, the subtle digs. She was trying to provoke me, and I was biting my tongue, fighting the instinct to lash out. Finally, the quiet was too much to bear. I couldn't sit there any longer pretending like everything was fine. I needed to say something. "So, how's work been for you, Victoria?" I asked, my voice tight but polite. "Still managing to work your way up in that dead-end job of yours?" The words stung, but I couldn't help it. I had been holding it in for so long that even a little jab felt like a release. Victoria's eyes flashed, but she kept her cool. "Actually," she said with a sweet smile, "I've been doing much better. You know, it's not all about fancy titles and power. Some of us actually appreciate the simple things in life." I knew she was baiting me, but I couldn't stop myself from responding. "Simple things? Like pretending you organized this trip?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper but sharp enough to cut through the air. Her smile faltered for just a moment, but it was quickly replaced with the same smug expression. "You're so dramatic, Scarlett," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "It's just a trip. Who cares who did what?" "Oh, I care," I shot back, my voice trembling with frustration. "I care because I spent weeks planning this. I paid for it. And now you're acting like you're the one who did everything. You've been trying to make it seem like you're the hero, like you're the one holding this family together, but you're not. You never were." Victoria's face hardened, but she wasn't about to give in. She leaned back in her chair, casually taking a sip of her wine, as if I hadn't just thrown her accusations in her face. "You really need to let things go. It's embarrassing, honestly," she said, her words slicing through the air like a knife. "You're acting like you've done something so amazing, but in the end, it's just a vacation. It's not like you're curing cancer, Scarlett." I could feel my hands start to shake, my pulse quickening. Every word out of her mouth felt like a slap to my face. She was minimizing everything I had done, belittling me in front of our parents like I didn't matter, like all my efforts meant nothing. "You don't get it, do you?" I said, my voice barely audible but thick with emotion. It's not about the trip. It's about you taking credit for everything. It's about you making me feel like I'm invisible, like I don't matter. Victoria's expression softened, but it wasn't genuine. She was still pretending to be the victim. Oh, Scarlett, please. You're so sensitive. I didn't mean anything by it. I stood up abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. The room seemed to hold its breath, as if everyone was waiting for the storm to break. I'm done, I said, my voice cold and final. You can pretend all you want, Victoria, but I'm not going to stand here and let you destroy everything. I'm done pretending. You're not getting away with this. I turned to walk away, but just as I reached the door, I heard her voice, smug and dismissive. Good. Walk away like you always do. And that was it. The breaking point. I didn't look back as I stormed out of the room, my heart pounding in my chest. But something in me had changed. I wasn't going to let her get away with it anymore. This wasn't just about the trip. This was about standing up for myself. And I was done letting her win. I sat in the dim light of my apartment, staring at the city skyline outside my window. The lights from the buildings below twinkled like distant stars, but all I could feel was the heat rising in my chest. Victoria's face, that smug smile, her passive-aggressive words, they haunted me. I had tried to move on, to go through the motions of a normal day, but the tension between us was suffocating. The more I tried to ignore it, the more it consumed me. The anger had been building for days, weeks even. Every little comment she made, every subtle jab, every effort to make me feel small, it all added up. And now, as I sat there, I knew one thing for sure. I was done being the quiet, patient one. I had let her manipulate me for far too long. I wasn't going to pretend anymore. I could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on me. It wasn't just about the trip anymore. It wasn't even about her stealing credit for everything. It was about all the years of betrayal, all the times she had made me feel like I didn't matter. I wasn't going to let it slide this time. I walked into the living room, pacing in frustration. I could hear the sound of my own heartbeat, pounding in my ears. The door to the bathroom creaked open, and I saw Victoria step out, her usual smug expression still on her face. She had no idea what was coming. You really think I don't know what you're doing, don't you? I said, my voice shaking with anger. You've been manipulating everyone, acting like you're the one holding everything together, like you're the one who's been planning and paying for everything. Well, I'm done with it. Victoria raised an eyebrow, acting completely unfazed. What are you talking about? She asked, her voice dripping with faux innocence. I haven't done anything. I couldn't believe it. The audacity. Oh, really? So what's this? I snapped, pulling out my phone and showing her the social media post where she had cropped me out of a family photo. What about this? Trying to take all the credit for the trip while pretending I'm not even involved. You've been doing this for weeks. Her eyes flickered with a moment of surprise before she quickly composed herself. You're overreacting, Scarlett, she said, dismissing me with a wave of her hand. I didn't do anything wrong. You're just stressed out, that's all. Maybe you should step back from the family matters for a while. Something inside of me snapped. She wasn't just denying it. She was belittling me, making me feel like I was crazy for being upset. Step back? I repeated, my voice rising. Are you serious? You've been trying to sabotage everything and now you're telling me to step back? No, I won't let you do this anymore. She smirked, clearly enjoying the chaos she was causing. You're just being dramatic as usual. It's not like it matters. I'm the one making this family look good, not you. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of her mouth. Every fiber of my being screamed with anger. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. You don't get to do this to me anymore, Victoria. I'm not going to sit back and let you manipulate everyone. I won't let you tear this family apart for your own gain. Her smug smile didn't falter. Well, you're free to do whatever you want, she said, stepping toward the door. But don't expect me to apologize. You're the one who's been making everything complicated. That was it. My patience had run dry. I was done pretending like everything was fine. You've pushed me too far, Victoria, I said, my voice low and steady. I won't let you keep doing this. I'm done. I turned to walk out of the room, the anger and hurt still seething inside of me. I could hear her call out behind me, but I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. This was it. This was the moment everything changed. I was done. The weight of the unresolved tension was unbearable. It had been simmering for days, months even, and now it was about to explode. The family vacation, once intended as a celebration, had become a battlefield. Every glance exchanged with Victoria felt like a war, every word like a weapon aimed at my heart. Tonight, it wasn't just the vacation that was on the line. It was our entire relationship. I sat at the dinner table, my fork barely touching the food in front of me. The air was thick with silence, punctuated only by the clinking of plates and the awkward coughs of our parents. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, my jaw clenched so tightly I thought my teeth might crack. Across from me, Victoria sat with that same infuriatingly smug smile, acting as if nothing had happened. She was unfazed, unaffected, while I was ready to implode. "You know, Scarlett," she said, breaking the silence with a honeyed voice, "I don't think you're handling all this very well. Maybe you should step back from all the planning." I looked up at her, the words hitting me like a punch to the gut. "Step back?" I echoed, my voice shaking with fury. "Step back? You've been manipulating everyone, including Mom and Dad, trying to make it look like you've been doing all of this, acting like you're the one holding everything together." Victoria raised an eyebrow, her smile widening. "What are you talking about? I'm just trying to help." "Help?" I scoffed, my anger bubbling to the surface. "You're not helping anyone. You're trying to control everything, including me." I slammed my fist down on the table, and our parents looked up in shock. The tension in the room escalated instantly, and for the first time in years, I didn't care about how uncomfortable they were. I was done being the peacekeeper. I was done pretending. "I'm not the one who's been sabotaging this trip, Victoria," I said, my voice steady despite the rage bubbling inside me. "You've been playing everyone, pretending to be the one who planned everything, stealing credit where none is due." Victoria's eyes narrowed, and her facade of innocence slipped for a moment. "That's not true. You're making all of this up," she snapped, her voice sharp. "I'm just trying to get things done. You're the one making it all complicated." "No," I shot back, my voice trembling with emotion. "I've been doing everything. I've been the one holding this family together, carrying the weight of everyone's expectations. And you? You've been tearing everything apart behind my back." I could feel my heart racing, the tears threatening to spill as my voice cracked. The frustration, the betrayal, it all came pouring out at once. "Do you really think I don't know what you've been doing? Trying to turn everyone against me? Making me look like the villain while you play the victim?" There was a beat of silence as the words hung in the air, sharp and unforgiving. Victoria's eyes flickered, and for a moment I saw a flicker of guilt, just a moment before she masked it with her usual smugness. "You're overreacting, Scarlett. It's just a trip. Get over it," she said, but her words only fueled the fire inside me. I could feel my entire body shaking with the force of my emotions. I was done pretending, done holding everything in. "No, Victoria," I said, my voice low and steady. "I'm done. I'm done with your lies, your manipulation, your constant need to tear me down. I've had enough." Victoria's face flushed with anger. "You think you're so much better than me, don't you?" she spat, standing up abruptly, knocking over her chair. "This isn't about the trip. This is about you always needing to be the one in control. You're not even a part of this family anymore. You never were." Her words hit me like a slap. I stood up, my hands clenched into fists at my sides, my heart pounding. The anger in me was a storm, wild and uncontrollable. "You've pushed me too far, Victoria," I said, my voice quiet but filled with a dangerous intensity. "You've been playing this game for too long. It ends now." With that, I turned on my heel and walked out of the room, my steps echoing in the silence that followed. Behind me, I heard my parents' voices, but I didn't look back. I couldn't. The damage had been done. As I walked away, I knew something fundamental had changed. The weight of the truth, of everything I had been holding in, had finally shattered the illusion we had all been living under. I didn't know what would happen next, but I was done being silent. The air in the vacation house was thick with the weight of unspoken words, and as the evening wore on, I felt the tension simmering just beneath the surface. The family dinner, meant to be a peaceful occasion, had become a battleground. My hands trembled as I pushed my food around on the plate, the silence almost deafening as everyone tried to avoid the elephant in the room. I couldn't look at Victoria without feeling my blood boil, and I knew she could sense it too. I could hear the click of her heels as she moved around the room, her voice sweet and innocent as she spoke to our parents, all the while pretending like nothing was wrong. But I could see through her mask. The facade was cracking, and I wasn't going to sit here any longer pretending everything was fine. "Scarlett," my mother called out gently. "Aren't you going to eat? You barely touched your food." I forced a smile, my teeth gritted. "I'm not hungry." I could feel Victoria's eyes on me, watching, waiting for me to react. And I knew what she was hoping I'd back down, hoping I'd stay quiet and let her continue playing the role of the saint, the perfect daughter. But I was done. I stood up abruptly, the chair scraping harshly against the floor. "I'm not going to pretend anymore," I said, my voice cutting through the silence. "This charade ends tonight." Victoria raised an eyebrow, the slightest hint of a smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. "What charade are you talking about?" she asked innocently, though I could see the challenge in her eyes. "This," I spat, pointing between us. "Your games, your lies, the way you've manipulated everyone, including Mom and Dad. Do you think I haven't noticed? Do you really think I'm this stupid?" I took a step toward her, my heart pounding, each word harder to control. "You've been trying to take credit for everything. This trip, the family, even the love Mom and Dad give us. And I'm done letting you get away with it." Victoria stood up slowly, her face twisting into that familiar, condescending expression. "Scarlett, you're blowing this out of proportion," she said, her voice dripping with faux sympathy. "It's just a family trip. Why are you so obsessed with being in control of everything? Maybe you're just too stressed out to handle it." The comment hit me like a slap across the face, but I didn't flinch. I was beyond that now. "Too stressed out? You have the nerve to say that after everything you've done?" My voice shook with rage. "You've been gaslighting everyone, trying to make me look like the villain, and I'm done taking the blame for your mess." Her eyes flickered, and for a brief moment, I saw a crack in her confident demeanor. But she quickly recovered, crossing her arms. "You're overreacting as usual. Maybe if you stopped trying so hard to be perfect all the time, things wouldn't be this way." The words burned in my chest. I was suffocating. "You're not perfect, Victoria," I said, my tone now low and dangerous. "You've been hiding things, and I'm not talking about petty arguments. I'm talking about the truth. The truth about what you've been doing to this family for years." I paused, letting the words settle in the air. "You think I don't know? You've been manipulating Mom and Dad. You went behind my back to undermine me, telling them I wasn't capable of handling things, that I couldn't lead, and you've been trying to replace me as the responsible one, all while making me look like the failure." The room seemed to freeze. The sounds of the dinner party faded into the background as I let the truth spill out. It was like lifting a weight off my shoulders, but at the same time, it felt like the walls were closing in around me. Victoria's face paled for a moment, but she quickly recovered. "You have no idea what you're talking about," she hissed, stepping closer to me. "You always have to make everything about yourself. Do you really think they would believe you over me?" I stared at her, my heart racing. "I don't care who they believe. This isn't about them anymore. It's about you and me. It's about the lies you've told, and the way you've treated me like I was invisible, like I didn't matter." There was no turning back now. The dam had broken, and there was no way to repair the flood of emotions that had been released. "You've pushed me too far, Victoria," I said, the words almost a whisper. "I'm not going to let you control this family, not anymore. It ends tonight." Victoria's face twisted in anger, but there was nothing she could say that would take the words back. I wasn't afraid anymore. I turned and walked away, my footsteps loud in the quiet of the room. Behind me, I heard Victoria's voice, sharp and cutting, but I didn't turn around. There was nothing left to say. The final confrontation had happened, and I knew, deep down, our relationship would never be the same again. The family room was eerily silent, the only sound the soft hum of the air conditioning in the background. The space, usually warm and welcoming, now felt suffocating. As I stood in front of my family, every single muscle in my body was tense, poised for the inevitable confrontation. It was late, the sun had long since set, and what had started as a simple gathering had now become a battleground. I could feel Victoria's eyes on me, the same defiant look that had been there for years, but this time I wasn't backing down. My parents sat at opposite ends of the room, uncomfortable in their chairs. Their eyes flickered between Victoria and me, as if waiting for something to give. They could sense the change in the air, but they couldn't quite place it. It was like everything that had been simmering under the surface for years had finally bubbled to the top. The truth was about to come out. Victoria, as always, wore a mask of calmness, her face a picture of sweet innocence. But I could see the cracks beginning to form. The facade she had so carefully maintained was starting to crumble. Her posture was rigid, and her eyes darted around the room, trying to gauge how much longer she could keep the control she had always had over the family dynamics. I took a deep breath, the weight of everything I had been holding in settling heavily on my shoulders. "This has gone on long enough," I said, my voice cutting through the silence. "Victoria, you've lied, manipulated, and tried to turn everyone against me. But I'm done being the scapegoat. I'm done letting you make me feel like I'm the problem here." Victoria's smirk faltered for a split second, before she quickly masked it again. "Scarlett," she began, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "you're just overreacting. I don't know why you always have to make everything so dramatic. Why don't you let things go and just enjoy the family time?" I could feel my blood boil. The nerve of her. She always had a way of twisting things, making herself look like the victim. But not tonight. Not this time. Enjoy the family time? You've been making sure that I'm never a part of it. You've been undermining me, trying to turn mom and dad against me. You've been lying about everything, from the trip to— I paused, letting the words hang in the air. "To our family's financial situation. You've kept secrets, Victoria, and you thought you could get away with it." The room went silent. My parents looked at each other, unsure of how to react. Victoria's expression faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. She turned to them with that same innocent, pleading look. "That's not true. Scarlett's just angry because things didn't go the way she planned. I've always been there for this family. Always." I couldn't take it anymore. The lies, the manipulation, the way she always played the victim, everything came crashing down on me in that moment. "Stop it!" I shouted, my voice breaking. "You've been playing everyone for fools, especially me. You've been using mom and dad's love and trust to make yourself look like the good daughter while I've been left to carry the weight. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being the one who's constantly second-guessing herself while you get to walk away without consequences." Victoria's face turned red, the corners of her mouth twitching in frustration. She took a step forward, trying to stand taller, but her posture was no longer the confident, calculating woman I had grown up with. She was unraveling. "You don't understand," she hissed. "I did what I had to do. I did what was best for this family. What you've done—" She faltered for a moment, her eyes narrowing. "It's all about you, Scarlett. You never think about anyone but yourself." I took a step forward, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. "I never asked for this. I never asked for your betrayal. But now I'm done. You want to know the truth? You want to know what's been eating away at me for all these years?" I drew a deep breath. Mom and Dad deserve better than this. They deserve the truth. I turned to face my parents, their faces a mix of confusion and shock. "Victoria has been keeping secrets from you," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "She's been playing a game with all of us, and it's time we stop pretending everything is fine. The truth has been hidden for far too long." The silence that followed was deafening. My parents sat frozen, their eyes wide as they processed what I had just said. My heart was pounding in my chest, but I felt a strange sense of relief. The burden that had weighed on me for so long was finally out in the open. Victoria tried to speak again, her voice low and threatening, but I wasn't going to let her twist things any longer. I turned back to her, meeting her gaze with unyielding strength. "Enough," I said. "You've done enough damage. It's time to make a choice, change or leave." Her eyes flashed with something, anger, frustration. but there was also a flicker of something else. Fear. And in that moment, I knew things would never be the same between us. Without waiting for her to respond, I walked out of the room, leaving her standing there, the weight of the truth crashing down on her. The game was over. The aftermath of the confrontation hung heavily in the air like smoke that refused to dissipate. I sat in the quiet of my apartment, the weight of everything that had happened settling around me. The phone call from Victoria had been the last thing I expected, but I could still hear her voice in my head, guilty, remorseful, asking for one last chance. I wasn't sure if I could give her that. The family was fractured. My parents, still stunned by the truths laid bare, had retreated into silence. It was as though the walls had ears, but no one was ready to listen, and no one knew how to rebuild what had been destroyed. Even though I had confronted everything, there was a sense of relief, yet the guilt gnawed at me. Had I pushed too hard? Had I damaged everything beyond repair? I couldn't escape the thought of Victoria, isolated and without allies, trapped by her own web of lies. Despite the anger, I couldn't help but feel a sliver of pity. She had always been the one to manipulate the family, but I saw now how much her actions had been fueled by her own insecurities. The ringing of my phone snapped me from my thoughts. My heart skipped a beat as I saw the name flash across the screen, Victoria. I hesitated for a moment, my hand hovering over the device. It would have been so easy to ignore it, to pretend the call didn't exist, to let the silence speak louder than the words we had left unsaid. But this was it, the moment I had to make a decision. I answered. "Scarlett," Victoria's voice cracked. She was on the edge of tears, and I couldn't remember the last time I had heard her sound so vulnerable. I don't know where to start. I'm sorry for everything. I've been holding on to so much anger and jealousy for so long. I wanted to be the one in control. I thought that if I could just keep you in the dark, I'd be the one they'd turn to. But I've ruined everything, haven't I? I closed my eyes, my chest tightening as I listened. There was guilt in her voice, but I wasn't sure if it was enough. "You don't get to apologize after everything you've done," I said softly, my voice barely above a whisper. "I've spent my whole life trying to make peace, trying to understand you, but you kept tearing things apart. You kept tearing me apart." Victoria's breath hitched, and for a moment there was silence on the line. "I don't know what else to say," she finally muttered. "I just want a chance to make it right. I can't change the past, but I want to fix this. If you'll let me." I clenched my fists, my mind racing. The words were there, hanging in the air. But could I trust her? Could I truly forgive her? I had been betrayed, manipulated, and gaslighted for so long. The scars ran deep. But as I sat there staring out the window, I realized something. Holding on to the past, the hurt, the betrayal, it was killing me. It was dragging me down. I couldn't keep holding on to the anger, couldn't let it consume me any longer. I had to let go, for me. Not for her, but for me. I took a steadying breath and spoke, my voice steady but firm. "I'll give you a chance, but you need to understand something. This isn't just about words, it's about actions. You have to prove that you can change, that you can take responsibility for what you've done. But I'm not going to live in the past anymore." Victoria's voice cracked as she spoke again, her words softer this time. "I'll do whatever it takes, Scarlett. I swear." I hung up the phone, the finality of my decision settling in. It wasn't a promise of reconciliation. It was a step toward healing, a first step. And that was all I could give. Later that night, I stood in the doorway of my apartment, looking out into the quiet street. The city lights blurred in the distance, the world moving on as it always did. I knew I had made the right choice. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but at least I had decided to take it. Sometimes you have to walk away from the past to build a better future, I whispered to myself, finally closing the door behind me. As I reflect on everything that has unfolded, one thing stands out. Family, trust, and forgiveness are not always easy to navigate. We often find ourselves tangled in old wounds, but it's in those moments of pain that we truly learn who we are and what we're capable of. Letting go of the past isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing peace over resentment and growth over stagnation. If you're holding on to something that's weighing you down, it's time to ask yourself, is it worth carrying anymore? So I challenge you today. Are you ready to let go of the old hurt and start fresh? To rebuild the relationships that matter to you, or perhaps to walk away from the ones that hold you back? It's your choice. You're in control of your path forward. If this video resonated with you, please let me know by commenting with a 1 or sharing where you're tuning in from. And if you found this video meaningful, consider subscribing for more stories like this. On the other hand, if you didn't agree with anything in this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Why not share them in the comments? Remember, every experience, every story has something valuable to offer. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you in the next chapter.